Hello everyone, in this video today I will talk about quadratics. So quadratics in general, we know that it has the subtopics. For example, quadratic equation. The quadratic equation has a form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, where a, b, and c, they are a constant. And a, this is not equals to 0. And then the next one is quadratic function. Quadratic function, it has a form of y(ax squared plus bx plus c), where a also not equals to 0. Because you talk about quadratic means the value of a with a variable of x, it needs to be in the form of the power of 2. Now, let's see how we can solve this quadratic equation. Solving quadratic equation, then you have to know four ways that we can use, or four methods. The first one, you can factorize it. When you factorize the quadratic equation, it means that you will get the value of those variable. So if ab equals to 0, then a is 0 or b also 0. The next one, c. You can solve by completing the square. And then c, use the quadratic formula. And the next one is you can use technology or a calculator. So those are the four methods that we can find out. Now, let's do the first one. We can solve by factorizations, because they said that we can factorize it and then we can find out the value of its variable. Method 1. Solve by factorization. If we look at to solve by factorizations, so the first example, solve for x. A. If they give it to you 3x squared plus 5 equals to 0, how do we can find its value? Because we're going to find out the value of x. So we have to factorize the equations. So we have to factorize the equation. If you find something that is not in the quadratic form, then you have to rearrange them. So that's the first method. And after that, you can fully factorize it, and then you can find out the value of its variable. So on this case, we have to factorize it. So we can take out x from this, and then this is remaining 3x plus, oh, this is with x, sorry, that's with x, and this is remaining 5, 0. So we have to form here, which is applied to this method. So just imagine that this is as a and that as b, and that's 0. So we can find out that x equals to 0, or the next one is 3x plus 5 equals to 0. So then 3x minus 5 because it's moving to the right side. So we can use the concept of left hand side and right hand side. And x equals to minus 5 out of 3. So we have this answer, which is x equals to 0 or x equals to minus 5 out of 3. The next example, B. X squared equals to 5x plus 6. How do we can solve this? Again, that it needs to go with the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So this is the quadratic equation. Okay, so if you found this case, then you can fully factorize that, but before that you have to rearrange. So how do we can rearrange that? So x squared, you move the 5x to the left side, so it turns into minus 5x minus 6 equals to 0. Hence, as we got this, we can fully factorize it. So that's the next step. How do we can factorize it? Then you can put x, and then this is also x, and that's equals to 0. As we can see here that a equals to 1, b is negative 5, and c is negative 6. When you have to find out a number, when you multiply them together, it has to be negative 6, but when you add them together, it has to be negative 5. So definitely we can find out that a number of negative 6 plus 1, because if we prove it, x times x, it's going to be x squared. X times 1, that's going to be x. X times negative 6, that's negative 6x. And x times 1, that's going to be 1. So that's definitely 0. So now we can solve x squared, 5x plus 1 equals to 0. So it's proven. That's the way we can prove it. So by getting the right proof for that, so we can find out that x minus 6, x plus 1 equals to 0, and then x minus 6 equals to 0, or x plus 1 equals to 0. So then x is 6 and x equals to negative 1. So that's the right answer. I hope this is very clear, so everybody in this class will understand that easily. The next step, we can do the next question by doing 4x squared plus 1 equals to 4x. If you find a case like this, again, that you can rearrange them. So 4x squared, then it means that 4x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals to 0. How do we can solve this? Okay, think about a number. It can goes to the form of a minus b squared, right? Equals to 0. A minus b squared. We can turn that into the algebra form. So you have to find the number that you can add together. Why I can turn that into a minus b? Because you can see that the c value is 1. So you have to think what number that when I multiply that together is going to be 1. That's definitely 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So it's going to be 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1 equals to 0. So I can make it into short form. 2x minus 1 square equals to 0. Then 2x minus 1, that's definitely square of 0, because the power of 2 on the left side, it turns that into the square root. And 2x minus 1 equals to 0. Then 2x equals to 1, so x definitely 1 out of 2. That's the answer. I hope that this is clear for us to understand. And then the next one is E. 6x squared minus, or 6x squared, not minus, equals to 11x plus 10. How do we can find out the variable of x? So if you look at that, they're not exactly in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So then we have to rearrange them. So we can move this left hand side, and then, sorry, not left hand side, that's the right hand side, and that's to the left hand side. So we can move it into 6x squared minus 11x plus 10 equals to 0. So then we can factorize it directly, as the value of a is 6, b negative 11, c equals to 10. So you have to factorize it. Now you can go to the next step. You factorize. When you factorize it, then think a number. When you multiply them together, it has to be 10. But when you add it together, it has to be 11. As the value of a is bigger than 1, is also possible for 6 times 1, or it can be 2 times 3. Right, so you can do trial and error in order to find out what exactly the right factorization of this equation. But when I look at that, when I try to solve by putting 6x, the trial minus, or let's say that 6x first, and then this is x equals to 0, I think it's going to be difficult to find out the value of b and also c, because when I put 6x, then the possible one that I can put it here, this is 2, but it is not going to be right if I put it 5 in order to get at c equals to 10. So I think 6x times x as the right answer to get a is not the right factorization, so I can change that into 2x and 3x equals to 0. So that's the right one. Now let's think about this, because 2x times 3x, that's exactly 6x squared. But how do we can find out c equals to 10 and then b equals to negative 11? So think a number. When you multiply them together, it has to be 10, positive 10. So if that has to be positive 10, wait, why positive 10? It's supposed to be negative 10, right? So this is negative 10, right? If you multiply together, it has to be negative 10, then this is going to be negative 5 times 2. Why the negative 5 on 2x and then 2 in 3x? Because when you look at that, you have to think again. When you multiply minus 2 times minus 5 times 2 equals to negative 10, but when you add them together, it has to be negative 11. We can make the proof. how to prove that. So 2x negative 5, 3x plus 2 equals to 0. So again, then you times, this is equals to 6x squared plus 4x minus 15x minus 10 equals to 0. So 6x squared minus 11x minus 10 equals to 0. So that's correct. Now we can factorize this, then that's equals to 2x minus 5 equals to 0, or 3x plus 2 equals to 0. Then 2x, 5, x is 5 out of 2, and 3x negative 2, x negative 2 out of 3. So that's exactly the easiest way to factorize it from different type of questions. Now might be there's going to be like the most challenging question that we're gonna have while we're doing the question in school or while we're having exam. Let's try to do a bit difficult one. For example, we're moving to D. There is 3. Solve for x, where 3x plus 2 out of x equals to 7. So they give it to you an equation that is not in the quadratic equation yet. So what you gotta do, you have to simplify them, because this is in a fractions, in a linear, but you have to change that into quadratic in order to find out what exactly the quadratic equations. So the solution, 3x plus 2 out of x equals to 7. This is equals to, you multiply them both. So you can do by, you multiply them, you times this with x. That's the first step. You times with x. So when you times that with x, it turns into, you can see that this is turns into 3x squared, and also you do this again, it turns into 2x or 2, okay, and this is turns into 7x. Oh wait, I think I made a mistake with the questions. This is supposed to be negative 7, right? So let's do it again. So 3x and then 3x squared and then plus 2, and this is before negative 7. So then this is negative 7x. Now 3x squared plus 7x plus 2 equals to 0. So we have this already. We got this equation in quadratic form. So what is next? The next one that we have to factorize it. How do we can factorize it? The first one, you can see that we have a equals to 3, b 7, and c equals to 2. Be able to identify the value of its part in the quadratic equation, especially to find out a, b, and c. And the next one, we can factorize from this 3x times x equals to 0. So 3x times x equals to 0, then we have 3x squared plus 7x plus 2 equals to 0. Then this is going to be 3x plus 1, and that is plus 2. See, we can factorize it after you rearrange, after you expand the bracket, and then you factorize it, then you will find out exactly. Now 3x plus 1 equals to 0, or x plus 2 equals to 0. Then this is 3x equals to negative 1. So x is negative 1 out of 2. And x equals to negative 2. So the value of x, so x equals to negative half, and x equals to negative 2. That exactly. Oh, it's not an, or, sorry. Or